So just take a minute, sit back, and let me unwrap this package of, I'm not sure what we'd call it. Or I am also reminded at this point as I was sitting there that I have a very good friend who has worked with me at hospice for the last 9 years, and she's a social worker and a wonderful person, and we're good friends, good colleagues, and when we would get a family, particular family that was very dysfunctional, and families do get that way to some degree when their loved one is severely ill. But she'd call me up if we really had a doozy out there. And she'd call me or she'd see me and she said, "Larry, we got a hot mess on our hands." And this is a hot mess. But I chose these passages to use more as a metaphor because of some of the things that are going on in the world today and how we can face them. I don't know, I'm sure you have. I've been very concerned over the last few years, the direction of the country. And I'm not making this a political statement or anything. They're good politicians and they're hardworking people by and large. But there are things going on that we can participate in and maybe make it a little better. And this title of this sermon, good person pays his debt back and a wise person pays his debt forward, is actually, as I was telling somebody earlier this morning, I heard this phrase or this quote on Blue Bloods a week ago Friday. I don't know how many of you follow it, but I tend to see it every Friday night. I don't particularly like all the violence in it, but I do like the family and what they stand for. But anyway, the commissioner said to one of his colleagues, he said, remember, good persons pay his debt back, and a wise person pays his debt forward. And he said that's what St. Ignatius said when he was alive. So I went looking for St. Ignatius' quotes. And let me tell you, that fellow, I don't know if, didn't know him personally, but boy, are there a lot of quotes on him in various areas and based on his thoughts. But I could not find this quote from him. But I did find some other information. There is a book out, and some of you may have read it over the past several years, saying paying back your debts. A wise person pays back his debts, and it's based on a supposedly a true story by a little boy named Trevor. And Trevor had a project in the school from his teacher, all the kids in his class, to change the world and put that action into place. And he decided that you should pay your debts, but pay them forward in his activities. And in his case, he used three ways to do that every day. Now, people laughed at him. His kids, knowing, I think he was about 10, knowing the kids in his class probably picked on him about it. But he went ahead, and there's been a movement out there. The book is actually, I don't have a copy of the book, but the book was made into a motion picture that was seen a few years ago. But in today's society, as I said, we've got a lot of things going on. And I take those two passages where they talk about the original temple in Jerusalem that was seized and sacked by Nebuchadnezzar. And then later on, during the time of Jesus, the Romans came in and took over and sacked Jerusalem. I also, at the same time, found an interesting statistic that I'll just pass along to you, because we think of in today's world is Jerusalem and Israel is a very hot spot in the world most of the time. But I thought, well, you know, what's really going on over there? The town of Jerusalem was settled about, they think, about 3,500 BC, so they've been around a long time. But I did find this statistic that I thought interesting, and it says the city has been destroyed at least 2 times, attacked 52 times, besieged 23 times, and recaptured 44 times. That's amazing, and that city is still there. So what's happened? They paid their debts forward, and they came back each time and rebuilt the city and rebuilt the temple. In today's world, we've had a number of attacks on churches, and by and large, all those churches have rebuilt. I remember seeing, as you probably did, when there was the attack, it wasn't destroyed, but the temple in Pittsburgh. And one of the TV stations or networks had an interview by the senior rabbi. And he essentially said, we will continue. This has been a setback, but we'll pay our debts and move forward. And that's what we're about today. As a church here in, church family here in Topsfield, we have a number of families. We come here on Sunday mornings. We come here for numbers of reasons. But we're here to be here with our friends, our neighbors, to think and to worship and to hear the word of the Holy Spirit among us all. This is a sacred place. This church has been here, what, 300 plus years. I pass every morning going out of my driveway the spot up in the cemetery where the first little church was built when they first settled here. And it was destroyed. Not by vandals or anything like that, it just literally wore out. But we rebuilt. I shouldn't say we, our forebears rebuilt it. This church was originally built in the 1800s, 1850 or so. And it was built in one summer because basically the other one's falling down. But it was built. They didn't say, well, let's just go ahead and, we won't worry about it and, let's just get on with our lives. But no, they felt there was a need. And they paid their debts and moved forward. They were wise people because we have what we have today because of them. Now, we've been under revisions. I can't imagine this place when it was fired by candles, candlelight, and probably wood stoves, this type of thing, this building. It's gone through a lot of changes, but this church family has persisted because they love their Lord. So this morning, I just wanted to point out the similarities between the Jewish folks of old and what it means to us today. Because basically we're here somewhere along the line, way back when. A lot of us had family members that were Jewish. Now I'm talking probably a long time ago, not just the last couple of hundred years, but several centuries. And we take a lot of our faith, particularly in the Old Testament, from the Jewish tradition. So what can we do? Well, we're doing a lot already, folks. we're paying it forward. Yesterday we had 106 beds made.
No, 16.
16, I'm sorry. Well, you know, I like to think in big numbers. 16 beds were made yesterday for folks that need a bed to sleep in. Can you imagine in our times, in our society, that we don't have people that have beds? Some years ago, we took the youth group to South Dakota because there was a need out there. There was and still is a project run by the UCC giving beds to the Dakota Sioux. A number of those families don't have enough beds. These beds will be used in this area. We're paying our debts forward in a wise way. We had a garden. I'm just flabbergasted every year when I hear the numbers of vegetables that come out of that garden and how many people we feed. We feed people over at Life Bridge. We're going to feed hopefully a whole lot of people at the fair for their nourishment. But we're passing along. I can't tell you how many people that I meet over the years I've been as a chaplain, that when I mention Topsfield, they say, "Oh, the Topsfield Fair." And then I said, "Well, we have a booth there." "Oh, are you the church there with a big white booth, you know, and you got turkey dinners and everybody's friendly?" You can't imagine what a reputation we have out there in the wider community. Now, sometimes they don't always come to see us. You know, maybe the kids want hot dogs or well, we do have hot dogs, but I'm thinking of something a little more exotic, but other types of food, cotton candy, popcorn, peanuts, that type of thing. So they may not come. But we have an enormous gift that we're giving the community. And we do, we have our refugee program, which is a little quiet right now, but we've been one of the pioneers in that, getting refugees settled in this country. So we're doing things to pay our debts back and move forward. But there's more work to do. We're a little bit isolated in you. There are people passing outside, you know, running, walking dogs, what have you. And they have no idea what goes on in you. Well, we've got something coming up, and you're going to hear it more later on, but and you've heard a little bit about it. We're spearheading and offering our Emerson Center in November for the town to come together and have a conversation. Those people that don't always believe what we say or what we do, each other. Hopefully we'll have both sides, the conservatives, the liberals, the progressives, and to be able to sit down and talk civil about a conversation about what's going on around us. And there'll be various topics. This is going to be an ongoing thing. But we're going to be leading the way here with our facilities and some leadership. So I hope all of you, when those dates and times are announced, will take time and come, because this is a step in the right direction to hopefully be able to bring us back together in a civil, in a quiet, and in a loving way, so we can talk to each other. Because we're not talking to each other. And that's sad. Yesterday, I worked yesterday, and I was on the way home last night, and I was coming down past the fire station, and there was somebody right on my tail. He honked 2 or 3 times. Well, I was doing the speeding limit. Now, he's not from Topsfield, obviously, but I know there's about an 80% chance there's going to be a police car right in front of the fire department. And I frankly don't want to get a ticket, and it's not safe. because it was a beautiful day, and out, this was about 6 o'clock at night. The sun was out, or it was setting. People were out, they were talking to each other, walking dogs, what have you. But this is an ideal spot to begin those conversations, because we're a small town. And basically, people like to talk around here. And most people are pretty nice. So we have a great beginning there. And we'll begin to rebuild. We won't rebuild a temple. We won't rebuild something concrete. We will build our relationships. And there is nothing more important than being able to sit down and talk to each other and not get upset, turn around, and walk out. Now, we've had some problems in this church over the years, so some of you that have been here for a while, that people get upset and mad, and they leave. They leave because they don't feel like anybody's talking to them or talking with them. And that's a shame, because we're here to serve the people. People that they may have a very deep faith. There'll be some people that, I'm not sure what my faith is. And there'll be people that, they want to, they're not sure what they want. And we are a church. We are a denomination where we welcome all. No restrictions. We belong to a denomination that has a national organization that talks about, they speak to the church members of their church community, but they don't speak for the local church. We're here to take care of ourselves. And that's what the founding fathers wanted. When they came here, they came to Topsfield, they settled, and they built what is now the Congregational Church of Topsfield. Deep roots here, folks, for this country. We've been here since the beginning. And we've seen this town change. We've seen the nation change. We've had our ups and downs over the years. If we look back at the Civil War, and if we look at the religious traditions, how they all split. Well, I won't say all, but most of the Protestant denominations split along the lines of who was for slavery and who wasn't. The abolition movement had great strength in this territory. But they did come back together after the nation was reunited, and they rebuilt their temple. There are hard times. There are good times. And all I can say at this point, let's give it a try. And let us be wise people. Not just good people, but wise people.